Today, we are taking a look at Tracer. Hi, John Jagger from Core, and that's right, today's Getting Started is about the newest, well, as of this recording, hero in the Nexus, Tracer. Now, typically, when I take a first look at a character here, I do just that, a special little first look where we kind of discover the character together. And while I love doing that, and people have said they really like seeing that, unfortunately, I was a little overzealous, and I've already played a lot of Tracer. So, instead of that, we're getting right into a Getting Started, and just like all the other Getting Starteds available on our YouTube page, keep in mind that this is by no means the definitive guide on the character, especially when it's a brand newly released character. No guarantees that nothing's going to change in a couple weeks as they try to balance. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. Remember, this is to get you familiar with and comfortable with the character so you can dive in, get started, and hopefully have a good base understanding of what you're doing with the character. I'm going to say right up front, I really love Tracer. She is a phenomenal character in this game, and she plays very differently than just about any other character I've played. So, here we are. We got Tracer. We got Poverty Horse. And we're ready to go. But actually, we're not. So, one thing I am going to recommend everybody who wants to try Tracer do is follow these next steps very carefully. As soon as you get Tracer, as soon as you get the opportunity, go to Hotkeys, go to Quick Cast setting, and change your blink to have on for Quick Cast. I cannot stress how important this is. I'm going to go ahead and show you her blink ability with this turned off, just so that you have a comparison of how difficult the move is with Quick Cast turned off. So let me go ahead and turn off cooldowns. So, this is what you have to do if you want to blink as Tracer without Quick Cast. You have to hit the button, then you have to line up where you want to go, and then you can kind of navigate it and give it a little click. It's cumbersome, it's annoying, it's difficult, and I don't recommend it. So, again, click Hotkeys, Quick Cast setting, turn that on. Now, I have also put it on for Pulse Bomb. I leave that up to you. That's going to be at your discretion, but believe me, this is one you're going to want to set for yourself. Just makes it a little bit easier. Now watch. Now I can run around, and as I'm running, I can use my cursor to control where she zips just by hitting the button itself. I don't have to worry about aiming and clicking and all of that. So I can tell her to go this way, but move my mouse real quick another direction, and boom, she's already off somewhere else. It just makes her blink so much more effective and faster and lets you get where you need to go. Again, cannot stress how important that particular choice is for Tracer. Alright, let's put cooldowns back on to normal, and let's get into her kit overall. I've already been showing you a lot of blink, and that is going to be the bread and butter of the character. She is designed to be able to get in fast or get out fast, depending on what you need to do. If you need to jump in on an enemy, she can get in there real quick, start dealing some damage. If they turn to come after you, she's real good at falling back and getting to a safe spot even before she mounts up on old Poverty Horse. Her W is melee. You're going to have to be very close. You can see the ring around her for the range. You have to be in, well, melee range. It does a surprising amount of damage, and I have found that one of the greatest strengths of Tracer is you need to surprise your foes with your damage. So to do that, you kind of hang out in the back, you poke, you can see that's not doing a lot of damage, it's doing a little damage very quickly. And as a result, it tends to lull them into something of a false sense of security. Ah, she's just kind of poking me. It's not a big deal. And the next thing you know, you zip in, you hit them real hard, and then you're still unloading on them. And now they think twice, and then you can always chase. So that's kind of the combo I like to use. is I like to start poking, let them, you know, take a little bit of damage, hit them with a heavy W, and then when they start to run, you can just blink right alongside them, doing damage all the while. The only ability we haven't shown so far is Recall. Return to the position you were at 3 seconds ago, refill your ammo, and remove all negative status effects from you. So this is a good one if, let's say, you pick an engage that you don't like. You go in, you hit them, oh, I need to get out of here. That's a good way to zip away and assure that you're going to be able to make an escape without having to use Blink. And that's the other key thing. You technically have 2 different versions of teleporting around the map, and I think it's important that you utilize both of them. So let's say you are getting chased by some villainous folk, and you're in a spot of bother, as Tracer would say. You're trying to get away. They keep hounding after you. They've got you running away. You've used all your blink charges. They're still on you. You can use a recall to get to a new spot, throw them off, and then hopefully have enough of a blink charge to kind of, you know, hightail it back. I've used this very effectively, had very low HP, and managed to skirt what would be a definite kill simply by confusing the enemy by making full use of recall. So it's a good ability for confusing foes, just as it is a disengage, just as it is a nice way to wipe status effects. You know, if Zul throws his bone prison on you, you can recall out of it. Even if you're not going to go super far away, at least you now no longer have it on you and you can continue to do damage. Her final ability is her ultimate, which she has from level 1. It's a pulse bomb. It's a very short little throw. It does a decent amount of damage, but the true strength is that it sticks to enemies. It's a little bit of bonus damage, and it has a pretty fast recharge, at least as long as you're staying in the fight and doing damage to your foe. So I highly recommend you use it liberally any chance you get. Keep in mind it will attach to any enemy, so if minions get between you and the target, it will stick to a minion. And also keep in mind the range on the thing. As you can see, it's not very big. So you're going to want to be very careful. It's definitely going to probably be a case of zip in very close, melee, then attach your pulse bomb, then recall out. So let's go ahead and get the bomb charge back up. Alright, so let's take a look at that. Run in, zip in, hit that, throw the bomb, recall out, get away. Works pretty well. Alright, so that's it for Tracer's abilities. That gives you the basics. Blink often, combo your abilities, melee every chance you get, because keep in mind that also adds to your pulse bomb charge, so make sure you're using it even if it's against a minion. Sometimes, you know, kind of wasting it, or what feels like wasting it on a minion, still means damage with a pulse bomb later if you can charge it faster. So let's get into talents. Again, you're going to want to pick your talents based on your comp and your enemy comp. This is just a rough guide to get you started. Let's get right into it. I'll tell you, I like all 3 of these talents, but I like them in different situations. And at level 1, it is kind of a tough call. So Tracer Rounds is very effective if you're dealing with a team that's going to spend a lot of time in a jungly area where they're going into bushes, or if you have a stealthy. A lot of people only pick up reveal talents if they're up against the stealthy. I believe it was Bo who said on a previous show that he likes taking reveal even when it's not a stealthy on the other team, because it means that when they duck into bushes, you don't lose vision of them. You actually continue, and you can continue to do damage. So that's something to consider with Tracer Rounds. But that said, I do probably favor Slipstream and Pulse Strike a bit more. I like Pulse Strike a lot more when we're winning. I like Slipstream a lot more when we're losing. It's very difficult to decide which that's going to be at level 1, so use your own discretion and kind of your own play style. For this purposes, I'm going to take Pulse Strike. And I'll tell you the logic behind that for me. I use my melee more than I use my recall. It basically comes down to numbers for me in that regard. Let's go ahead and start getting minions out here while we talk about the additional talents. Level 4. Parting Gift I'm not a big fan of. I kind of don't like the talent. So I'm going to say maybe don't take Parting Gift. She is extremely squishy. You can see just standing in Arthas's little aura has already caused a good chunk of damage to her. So she's squishy, and getting extra health back is obviously going to be a big help. I tend to take Untouchable, because Untouchable is going to be useful more often than Health Globes. Health Globes are only useful when you have them. Healing Fountains are only useful when you have them. Untouchable is useful all the time. Even if you lose your stacks, it's still useful at a, lower level. So I like that. Level 7, where we're going to enhance our Blink. There's a lot of really good choices here. I really like the Tracer talents overall. I've been kind of favoring Bullet Time, although I can see Spatial Echo being favorable if you take the shortened cooldown at level 1. Personally, I've been really enjoying Bullet Time with Tracer. I like to stay in the fight and shoot a lot, as much as possible, so I have a tendency to take that. Now, she already has her ultimate at the start of the game, so at level 10, she gets the ability to enhance her ultimate. Makes sense. There's a couple different ways you can enhance it, and honestly, I don't think any of them are particularly bad. It just depends on what you want to do. So Sticky Bomb is going to increase the blast radius, because as you probably saw earlier, it doesn't have the biggest blast radius in the whole wide world. And it slows, and that slow is going to be useful to your entire team. This is a team game, as Bo will remind people. So taking talents that are going to make your team do better in team fights is definitely going to be a win as well, and something to consider there. Quantum Spike is basically a giant killer type enhancement to your bomb. Basically, it's going to do more damage. Now, we are taking a build that gets to use the bomb a little bit more often, so a case might be made that, hey, that's probably a little bit better if you're getting the bomb back more frequently. And then Pulse rounds. Pulse Bomb's range and charge rate from basic attacks against heroes by 150%. Be able to throw it a little further. That makes it a little easier to stick. In addition to that, also means you're going to be able to do it more frequently, so another really good use of it there. I'm going to go ahead and say Pulse Rounds. I really like it. Again, this is going to be very heavily dependent on your team comp, at least to some degree. So just be aware that's going to have an impact. Level 13. So Bullet Spray increases melee's radius by 50%. Melee is great. Like I said, it's surprisingly powerful and effective, but you have to keep in mind that it's not necessarily addressing one of her issues. If you feel like you can only backline and you can never get close, maybe it's going to be a bit effective for you in that case, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Ricochet, the ability for your auto attacks to go and hit nearby enemies, also very effective. I am going to favor Leeching Rounds, and I usually hate abilities like Leeching Rounds because I just don't find them that useful. But Tracer's health pool is actually so small, and she does so much damage so quickly, that Leeching Rounds actually, for me, becomes a bit favorable, because it's just nice to have that self-heal to some degree, where you get some semblance of control. As you can see, just chasing Arthas down here, getting a decent amount of health back. Not too shabby. So, At level 16, we're going to enhance her trait, which is reload. We haven't really talked about reload. It's basically a method to get ammo back into your guns, maybe if you get interrupted in the middle of firing. Like right here, I don't have a full clip. Getting a full clip would be a nice thing to have, so if you find yourself out of ammo, you can hit D, just get a manual reload going. I won't lie, I don't use manual reload very often. However, most of these abilities don't actually augment the button press version of D. Most of them just augment the way her reloading works overall. Sure, Darthus. So, I'm going to say, I really like Sleight of Hand. This basically makes it to where you reload faster. They say right in the tooltip equals 20% more damage per second. So they're giving you a hard and fast number there. You pick this talent, you're going to see an increase of about 20% more damage. Focused Fire. If an entire ammo magazine is unloaded on an enemy, that last bullet will deal 191 bonus damage. This is equal to 30% of the total magazine. So, you unload an entire clip on Arthas. Once you do that, the last shot is as if you unloaded a whole third of your clip in that final shot. That's a pretty significant increase. And Locked and Loaded. Reactivate reload within the last 50% of its cast time to increase your basic attack damage by 35% for that magazine. So again, this kind of feels almost like a curve as far as amount of skill required for what you get for doing it. So you put more effort into it, you get a higher percentage damage. You put less effort into it, you get less, but it's easier. I like to take the middle ground. I like Focused Fire right here. That's the talent I'm currently really digging on her. It's purely a case of it feels better to me. I feel like Tracer is more effective as a single target assassin than she is trying to shoot a whole bunch of people. And so having to stay focused on one target is not typically a problem for me when I'm playing as her. But I do like Sleight of Hand as well. I've played with that a good deal. And I'm not opposed to it. Alright, so we got Tracer to level 20. It's time to pick our Storm talents. And I don't want to make it sound like I think her Storm talents are bad, because they are most definitely not bad. I will say that I have a level of indifference towards what you pick at level 20. With the choice that I like being kind of the slightly more favorable one. And that is, I like Total Recall, which when you recall, you gain health based on what you lost on the time. It gives her one more way to heal up if she gets into trouble. Get Stuffed, which reduces melee's cooldown. Hitting an enemy with melee who is struck by a pulse bomb causes the bomb to instantly explode. Another good way to recharge your bomb super fast, which I think is going to ultimately probably turn into a build. It sounds very cool, seems like it would be effective. I just am not the biggest fan of it, so I'm not really recommending it here. And Composition B seems like it would be somewhat easy, at least, to escape. So I think that's why I probably favor Total Recall. Again, I like to pick talents based on what my character is weak at. Tracer's very weak in health, and so ways to heal her are few and far between, so I like to take the ones that exist. That's my build for Tracer. Now, general guide to how you should probably be playing her is focus. Focus in on dealing damage and taking people down when you want to kill them. You got to be a little bit bold to be an effective Tracer, and that's okay. That's part of her playstyle. Don't be afraid to be on the back line, poking from back here, dealing damage, running around. She auto-targets, so you don't ever have to worry about not being, stutter stepping or anything like that, you can be very aggressive with her. And nothing is more infuriating to enemy players than them trying to walk away and escape, and you're just blinking right along with them, shooting them the entire time. It's a very satisfying feeling, and I can't recommend it enough. One more mechanic that I do want to explain that you may want to wrap your head around as a Tracer player. So she fires by default. If I walk down by this boss, you'll see she starts firing on him. Or no, she didn't. And there's a reason for that. So the logic for Tracer seems to be this. She prefers heroes, but you can tell her to focus on different things. So as you can see, I'm getting hit right now and she's not even firing back. This is because the last thing I targeted was a building. However, if I target Arthas, she's now in a mode where she's favoring dealing damage to heroes. Now, when she gets into combat, she's going to really work and try and hit heroes with all of her abilities. As you can see, she's ignoring all those minions, really focusing on Arthas. That's really her primary focus. Now, she's moved on to minions. And when she's locked on to minions, you can see she's not focusing on towers or anything like that at the moment. However, if I right-click the tower, now she's focused on structures. Now she will try and shoot the structure that you've told her to target. So you kind of have to manage to some degree what Tracer's targeting, even though she's very auto-targety with what she does. So it's a little bit of both. Some stuff gets auto-targeted, some stuff does not. If you want to switch to minions when there's a hero in there, you can just right-click a minion, and now she'll start favoring minions. So just keep that in mind. She does tend to favor heroes overall, so you're probably going to run into a lot of situations where she's smacking the heroes instead of the minions. If there's no heroes around, she'll start shooting minions. Hope that makes sense. It's a little tricky, but I think once you start playing her, you'll kind of get what I mean by that. So, looking at that, that's pretty much Tracer. She puts out steady low damage in favor of being an extremely high damage character. Now, you will probably see her lead a lot of charts, and part of the reason for that is because she is just constantly dealing damage. As you can see, she is always in the fight. She's always just shooting at something, as long as she's not being, you know, burned down or anything like that. And it's what makes her so effective in this game and such a fun hero to play. So, as you go, as you get more stacks, she becomes even stronger. We're up to 8 right now, which is 16% bonus damage. And you can see she's doing pretty decent steady damage to Arthas here. Hit a minion. That's okay. So you can see how her recall can be used effectively, especially with the heal that you get late game. Once you get the heal, it starts to feel even a bit unfair because it lets you stay in fights that you should be retreating from and then still effectively be right there at full health and not having to worry about anything. Get in trouble. Blink, now all my health's back, and even if the recall doesn't take me out of position, as long as I have one cooldown of blink, I'm still technically in a pretty safe spot. I don't have to worry too much about where I'm at. So you can see that's a very effective combo. Again, that's a late game combo because you're not going to get health back from recall. Near the end. If you do take the talent that requires the full clip to be fired before you get the damage bonus, make sure you're being very careful about your manual reloads. You're going to want to be a little bit safe. You're going to want to try and make her do the auto reload as often as possible, because that's where you're going to get the biggest damage increase out of it. And yeah, do that. We're going to go ahead and get rid of minions. I don't really have much else to say about Tracer. I really like her as a hero. She's a very effective team fighter. She's going to be able to do some really crazy things, put your team in a really solid position if you're playing with an effective Tracer. One thing of note, running from Tracer can sometimes feel foolish, so we are going to have to shift our combat strategies a little bit. If you know you're not going to escape a Tracer, you might have to turn around and get aggressive in a situation you might otherwise stay running from. But she is just a lot of fun. I really recommend you give this hero a try if you haven't considered it already. That's going to do it. Until then, keep calm and Tracer on.